Hello, my name is Rowan. The story I'm about to tell is a darker twist on the Pied Piper of Hamlin, written by me. Many hundreds of years ago, there was a small village in Germany by the name of Hamlin. It was an unremarkable place in many respects, including in the fact that, just like every other small European village at the time, it once became the unwilling home of a pandemic of plague-infested rats. Everyone feared for their well-being when the rat population increased, and with it the risk of picking up the deadly disease. But nobody feared more so than the parents of Hamelin's 130 children, and the mayor, for whom they were responsible not only for their own safety, but for that of others who depended on them. One evening, as the mayor once again watched the parents herding their children indoors instead of letting them stay out and play, he decided to take action. He sent for a professional rat catcher and, after a certain number of false starts, invited an individual into the town who went by the pseudonym Pied Piper. "You have quite the problem," said the piper as the pair walked down the high street. There were more rats than people, and not only because the people had avoided leaving their homes to avoid the rats. The mayor gritted his teeth with embarrassment at what his village had become. "Indeed," he agreed heavily. "How much to get rid of them?" The piper stopped and looked meaningfully at the mayor, and the mayor found himself pausing mid-stride to watch the strange man in the colourful clothes, the better to hear what he would say. 1,000 guilders, the piper told him levelly. The mayor felt himself blanch. "But that's extortionate!" The piper simply smiled. "I heard of cheaper rat catchers. I'll go with another. I'm sorry for wasting your time." "It's a little over the going rate, that's true," pointed out the piper, his tongue practised as if he had delivered the speech many times before. "But you've seen the destruction that comes with having a plague-addled town, dear mayor. I offer a service to remove the rats single-handedly, not just kill them and leave them to continue infecting your townspeople until someone summons up the courage to pick up the bodies and throw them away, but take them out of the town myself. There will be no risk for you, nor to your people." The mayor had to admit he had a point. "So, mayor, do we have a deal?" The mayor held his breath for a moment, exhaled as he realized that this was his best option, and grasped the piper's hand in a handshake before he could change his mind. That night, the mayor barely slept. Instead, he lay as flat as a board and watched a patch of moonlight shift across the ceiling as he wondered. He could not easily afford the Pied Piper's charge. Not easily at all. But there was more than money at stake. There were lives. If he did choose to wait for a cheaper rat catcher, then that would undoubtedly be at the expense of the lives of several townspeople. If he stalled, then the blood of any further deaths would be on his hands. It was his duty to make the choice sooner rather than later. Also, the piper was right. The rats' carcasses would need to be removed, and picking up the bodies might be just as dangerous as shearing away a live rat. Somebody in the town would no doubt volunteer for the task, he had little doubt of that. But it would be irresponsible of him to accept. The Pied Piper was the perfect solution. The following morning, as agreed, the Pied Piper appeared in the high street, armed with a musical pipe. As the mayor and a couple of dozen townspeople watched, curious about how this rat catcher would ply his trade, he began to play. The effect was as stunning as it was swift. The rats all stopped what they were doing. They turned towards the piper, and in a furry brown stream went to him. The Pied Piper began to walk, and the rats followed him. entranced by the sound. And, before the mayor's astonished eyes, the rats followed the piper as he wandered out of the village, a rapidly growing carpet of brown backs at his ankles. The piper could be heard walking back and forth through the town as he made himself easy for all of the rats to find, and once every rat in the town was following him, he left. Eventually his music became inaudible, and all that was left in Hamlin was a silence to which the townsfolk were unaccustomed, so much were they used to the perpetual bustle of rodents. Nobody knew where the Pied Piper went to or what happened to the rats, but it was the following day when he returned to Hamlin. He knocked on the mayor's door to collect his payment, the early morning sunshine still tender and fresh. "Good day, sir," he said jovially, apparently oblivious as the mayor opened the door, grim-faced. "The rats, as you can see, have gone. I think you know what I've come for." "I've reconsidered your price," said the mayor, folding his arms. "It is too steep. I will offer you 500 guilders, no more." The piper laughed as if unsure of whether to treat this as a joke. "Surely you jest, sir. We made a deal and we shook on it." The mayor was not to be convinced, it seemed. "I expected you to work much harder than that. You barely worked at all. It was easy. 500 guilders, that's my final offer." By now the piper's jovial expression had fallen, replaced with an intent look. "Very well," he said neutrally. Without waiting for his payment, he turned, raised his pipe to his lips, and began to play again. At first the mayor expected to see the rats come flooding back into the town, but that did not happen. Instead, the piper began to walk casually away, and the mayor wondered if this was just a ruse. The strange musician turned a corner and wandered out of sight, and the last thing the mayor saw before rather irritably shutting his door was a pair of children running in the same direction as the man, skipping and dancing as they went. It was the voice of a fear-stricken townswoman that alerted the mayor that there was a problem. He left his house in a hurry to see what the commotion was all about. But once he reached the woman, he saw that she was not the only one panicking. 3 townsfolk frantically searched and called for their children, all of whom had gone missing. It was then that the mayor realized what the Pied Piper was doing. He tried to find the piper, but the sound of the pipe was distant and hard to pinpoint, and there were no children still within the village that he might otherwise have followed. As night fell, the mayor prepared a torch and ran out into the wilderness to try and find the Pied Piper and his new entourage. But he found nothing, and was eventually forced to give up when all he heard in the dark of the night was the howling of wolves. The mayor was unsure whether to feel surprised or not when somebody knocked on his door the next morning, and that somebody turned out to be the Pied Piper. He resisted the urge to launch himself at the troublemaker and instead demanded, "Bring them back!" The piper smiled and looked coyly at his feet, as if trying to hide his humor. Then he looked up again. "I would like payment first. But be aware, Mayor, that the price has doubled. 2,000 guilders, and I will bring the children back." The mayor grabbed his coat. "Don't bother, I'll fetch them myself. Where are they?" "In the same place as the rats." This made the mayor pause with one arm inside his coat and stare horrified at the piper. He assumed the rats to be dead. Did he mean the children were dead too? "The rats and the children are alive and well, for now," the Pied Piper told him. "But I fancy that rats can bear the plague far more easily than children can." The mayor felt himself break out in a sweat. 1,000 guilders was a difficult price for me. 2,000 will be impossible. You've made your point. I will bring you your 1,000 now, but please, bring the children back, healthy and unharmed. He fled indoors to retrieve the money that should have been put to any number of civic tasks, and gave it to the Pied Piper, who pocketed it with an air of grim satisfaction. I cannot guarantee that the children will be healthy, but return them I will. The mayor watched, powerless and now badly indebted to his farmers, as the Pied Piper left the village once more. The children were returned. They, along with the rats, had been abandoned in a valley some distance away from civilization. Hungry and naive, the children had tried to hunt the rats for food, and some had indeed become infected. When they returned to Hamlin, once again following the music of the Pied Piper, all seemed well at first. And then the disease returned with a vengeance, not in any rat population, but in the children instead. The full force of the Pied Piper's curse only became clear years later, for the population of Hamlin never recovered from the terrible blow of the plague. If you enjoyed this storytelling, then please subscribe to my channel. I upload at least twice a week, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Goodbye.